Hey riders, February 13th, 2024. Today is Tuesday morning. I rode this yesterday. As you can see, it's called the Monday Prologue by Cadex. This is the third event of the day. Just wanted to try this one out for the first time. I was wondering what I was going to do. And I do like, a prologue / TT style type of race, even though that's not really what this is. Here we're in start shoot, as you can see, which the timer's counting down right now. I have sped the video up a tiny bit, the replay speed, just so you're not here all day, trying to keep them a little bit shorter, some of these. But this is a Cadex event. Now, Cadex is a sub-brand of Giant. And the term Cadex just kind of came back in 2019 when they introduced the Cadex wheels, which everyone's well aware of. Super, super high-end stuff. It's kind of like super tech on bike equipment. I guess it's the best way I think I can describe it. So you can see I'm starting out here, nice slow start, currently sitting in 24th, 25th spot, and there's a ton of people in this event. So when I first looked at this in the morning early, trying to plan my day out, I think there's 3 or 4 people registered, and then it just got flooded at the last second. So I was pretty shocked to see this many riders here. I'm just slowly cruising to the front here, just picking up a few spots here, there, and everywhere. Tried to pick the fastest bikes that I could for this. I wasn't sure if it would allow me a TT bike. Didn't even try, actually. Just from watching the earlier event, everyone was just kind of on road bikes. But again, back to Cadex here. Cadex came back in 2019, but not sure if you know or not, but Cadex was first around in 1987. So one of the very first carbon fiber bikes, road bikes, back in the 87, like I almost want to say mid to late 80s. These things were like out of this world, and it was definitely the first bike that used like computer assisted design in mass production to get these things like consistent across the board. I think a lot of bikes that were like made by hand back then were probably like, well, we're not really sure what you're getting because we didn't really measure the thicknesses. These were computer designed or computer assisted anyway. I guess you got to think Cadex, first part of the word, CAD maybe. That's all about drafting, computer assisted, right? Rolling along here, so we are in Switzerland here. Short tri-course, I believe it's 13 kilometers long. I think the course is called Uri, U-R-I. And there's very little climbing here, so it's basically just all out flat with just a few rollers here, there. And, as I like to always say, false flats. Everything's a false flat to me. I like to throw that term around a lot. Anyways, Cadex has been around forever. They disappeared. So they made a road frame at first, then they disappeared. Probably just Giant, absorbed the name into the big brand. Wanted to put everything as Giant, but it came back in 2019 with wheels. And it's I think it's kind of like their highest level of components and wheels and gear and stuff like that. So makes sense to have like this little sub niche brand. So now they're building, they're actually making road tires, road wheels. I think they make saddles, components. But the coolest thing, and I really want to see it on Rouvy, I'm sure we can do this, is they make the Cadex tri-bike. Now this thing is totally out of this world. And all I really have to say about the Cadex tri-bike is Christian Blumenfeld. Just look him up. That's all you need to do. It's kind of like one of those things where you just say, Christian Blumenfeld, Cadex, case closed. I think he still has the record. I love triathlon, but I'm not a triathlon details junkie. But the last time I looked, I think the record for sub 7-hour triathlon, Christian Blumenfeld, was 6 hours and 44 minutes and a handful of seconds. I mean, that's just flying. Done on the Cadex tri-bike. Now, these bikes are like completely out of this world. Triathlon bikes are way different than World Tour TT bikes. They're kind of allowed to just destroy the UCI rules for triathlon bikes. I mean, if you look at a modern triathlon, they'll have socks that are like right up to their knees. Everything is so aero. It's crazy. They don't have all the restrictions that you see at World Tour level. And I'm sure there are rules and guidelines, but they're just a lot more generous for all-out speed and performance. And that's cool with me. So here you can see we're trucking along this lake here, sitting in 11th spot. I feel like a lot of this race I just kind of hung out in 10th, 11th, 12th place. Got myself into a nice little group here with Grey Cap. There's a rider here on the left-hand side of the screen, kind of like in an orangey jersey. I have no idea what their name is, but I was with them all the way too. You're going to see those riders the entire way with me. So this is kind of like an out and back tri-course or TT course. Let's just call it. Okay, riders, sorry about that. I just edited out the spooky darkness of the tunnel there because you wouldn't have been able to see virtually anything through there. This tunnel is not so bad coming up. I think they decided to put some lights in this one, so that's great for us cyclists out there. Again, I was saying before, it is called a tri-course, tri/TT course event. You know, and it makes me think back to the early days when I started watching the Tour de France when they still had the prologue around. And in fact, I don't even know how long the prologue's been gone. So back in the days, I think it was important to have someone in the yellow jersey at the start of stage one. And I thought about this yesterday for a bit. I'm like, well, why is that? Probably sponsorship. There's probably people paying a lot of money to have their brand slapped onto the side of the yellow jersey. So you want exposure of it every day. So the way they did that, I don't know if this is the original reason for it. This is just my reason for it. One of my rambles. So I think they decided to have the prologue to say, hey, here's who's riding in the yellow jersey that's day one. And in fact, you know, you could even have, there might be a tiny climb in the prologue that they might be able to give a mountains, the polka dot jersey to someone. I'm not sure how they really did that back then. That might be a lot of history I need to look up. Here's the turnaround point, hammering along here. So at this point here, I'm riding with these riders pretty much all the way now. Got a nice little group established here. Grey Cap. The rider's name, who I really have a hard time saying, it just looks like a scramble of letters to me. Thomas 68. There's about 5 of us here. Yeah, there's 5 of us riders here, all kind of just cruising along together. I am going pretty hard here. Heart rate's at 176 at the moment. Trying to maintain, 3.5 watts per kilo probably on average for me, which is over 300 watts. There's some nice draft effect going on here too. So these are really cool events. I'm pretty sure this is the first one I've ever done. I've been on Rouvy now 3 years in probably one of the very first days of April. I think I'm going to go back and look today. I'm going to say April 3rd or 4th was my first ever day on Rouvy in 2021. Probably one of the best things I ever did. I love the videos. I love the racing. I love all the events. I think the only way we could really improve this Cadex event is to take some time and build us a Cadex tri-bike. And that's what I want to see. Why not get one of the fastest bikes in the world on a tri-course and get it right into Rouvy itself? So through this dark, spooky stuff, yeah, it's getting hard to see us again, isn't it? Not sure why this happens. I think it might be, this is kind of my theory at the moment. So I've talked about this in other videos before. I think when there's things on the opposite sides of the road, like when there's traffic coming and you get too far over, Rouvy makes the avatars disappear. It makes sense to me too. It's to prevent having to worry about avatars being on the opposite side of the road when there's a car coming or a truck coming. It's going to be really hard to deal with that avatar after the fact. And I think through those tunnels, there must be some kind of algorithm built in that says, hey, there's something close to the riders. And in this case, that's the tunnel. So it's making the riders disappear, the avatars disappear. It's kind of a really smart way of dealing with the fact that there could be collisions that they don't want to have to deal with. So smart move. That's probably the best way to deal with it instead of trying to manually remove avatars after the fact. So you can see here the purple and orangey rider ahead of me. If there was 3 or 4 riders abreast there and they're crossing the center line, those riders would disappear. They kind of ghost out. Generally, that's what happens because they don't want, obviously, cars. It just looks totally unrealistic. And it might have something to do with the darkness of the tunnels. I'm trying to figure that out too. See here, see how that happened again? When it gets dark, they want to disappear. I'm not sure why. But it's so momentary, it doesn't even affect me. I'm just blasting along here as best I can. So yeah, again, let's get that Cadex bike in here. I'm sure it's doable. It would have, I don't know how they would do the stats for it. It's probably a very heavy bike, but super aero. So right now we have the Cube Arium TT bike, and we have the Specialized Shiv. Those are the most aerodynamic bikes. Those are the all-out TT bikes where you're actually in TT position. But there's got to be some stats somewhere online showing how fast these things are. Otherwise, they would use those bikes at the tri events. That's my theory. So these triathlon bikes, they're specifically designed for that purpose, to get the rider in the ultimate position. Like this, you've seen like the seat tube posts and that, how not upright, the angle of the seat tube puts them so far forward. And, I'm pretty sure in the UCI rules, you can't do that on the road bikes that they use for TTs. There's rules in place to prevent all that kind of stuff. Like, again, earlier, talked about sock length. Their socks are way up past their knees. Everything's aero. They have like aero covers on their arms. It's kind of crazy, really. I don't know what that bike would cost in game. I mean, I think I spent, I think the Shiv when I bought it was 50,000 gold coins. So was the Cervelo. The Trek Madone is 50,000. So they could put some big costs on that thing, but you would have the ultimate, fastest, most aerodynamic bike frame set in the entire Rouvy app. So where are we at here now? So we're getting close to the finish. I've got 1.6 kilometers to go. Just kind of like slight little rolls here, nothing major. Got Grey Cap just pulling away from me a little bit. Oh, look, little map view I took for you here. So you can see the riders all scattered out. We're all hauling really fast here. I've got the rider behind me whose name I can't pronounce, the rider that was in the orange jersey. They're just starting to fall back a little bit from me now. So you can quickly go into map mode on your screen by clicking that little button in the top right-hand corner. Looks like a map, and then it'll look like a camera to go back. And remember, just when you're in that map mode, just keep pedaling. Just pedal, 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 pedal. You can still see your power in the top left-hand corner. Really fun event. So I think there was 94 people that actually signed up for this, that registered. I believe only 78 started. And I think we had 70 finishers. So, people started and decided it wasn't their thing. Maybe they had an internet issue, power issue, whatever it may be. So 78 to start. I believe that's the number. Maybe it was 79. Less than 500 meters to the finish. 70 finished. I got 12th. Well, I'm pretty happy about that. And all the times around me looked really cool too. These are legit. So anyways, this was my first ever Cadex prologue. Really happy to learn more about Cadex itself, the brand. Super high tech, fastest stuff you can ride. So go check it out online maybe. There's a ton of great info on it. And we'll catch you around real soon again in the next video.